you hear me, or is there an echo or like a loud humming noise? How's it sounding on your side?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Everybody in the comments, how are you doing there? Is it good? Okay, cool. Thanks, Lily. Okay, so we're gonna do it this way, and then I can still be, because Vaynant's camera won't shut off or anything like that. But yeah, so we'll just do it this way. It seems to be fine like this. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. I did share the live to our ladies group on WhatsApp. So if we could just maybe give it a couple of seconds for them to join. How are you doing, Hannah?
I'm good. A little tired, but good. I was up till 2:30
Oh,
and then got
goodness.
up at 6:50.
Oh, that's not enough sleep.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm used
Us
to it.
mamas have to survive on little. I mean, little sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, and coffee.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I had planned on having this on my account and using TikTok Studio because it's really easy to do everything on the computer. I used to do Twitch lives, and so I was familiar with the layout. And then I get everything set up, a slideshow, and I think I'm prepared. And then it says, you can't invite any guests. Like, great. Plan B.
I don't even think I can go live from my account yet. How many followers do you need?
I didn't need a certain amount of followers, but it's because it might be because your 14-day trial expired. So you'll get like a 14-day trial, I guess, to bypass the 1,000 followers. And then as long as in that 14 days you go live and finish all of those requirements, and as long as you don't get any violations, they will let you stay live.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they got all these
Yeah.
regulations.
Okay. Well, Renan doesn't mind us using his account. Some brothers are going to be confused when they get on now because they see him live and they hear us talking, but it's okay. They can listen in.
Yep, it's all good. Hello, all. Hi, Annalie. I'm glad you were able to join. Hi,
Okay.
Melissa. I'm glad you're
Anna,
able to make it.
Anna, you want to get started on that?
Sure, sounds
Ladies, this
good.
will be recorded. So we will be posting it to, I think maybe Vainant's YouTube channel, and then I'll send the link to Hannah and she can post it on hers as well.
Okay, let's see. Did that turn that off? It did. Sorry. Trying to figure out the camera. Okay, so I just have to do that each time. Okay, good morning, ladies. We are going over the food laws today, and just basically the basic intro to it. We have a bunch of these planned to dive deeper into it because it's a very deep subject. So we're gonna try to do this maybe every week for several weeks to cover all this. But today will just be the basics. Why? Every time I want to change the picture, it turns off my camera. Okay, so what are the food laws? Yahweh commanded the food laws to be taught to the Israelites by Moses and Aaron. It is a detailed and very specific list of foods that are clean and unclean to eat. And I'm going to be reading Leviticus 11, the whole chapter, because it goes very in depth with everything. Okay, Leviticus 11, starting at verse 1 and going through the whole chapter. And Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying to them, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, These are the living creatures which you do eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatever has a split hoof, completely divide it, chewing the cud among the beasts that you do eat. Only these you do not eat among those that chew the cud or those that have a split hoof. The camel, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. And the rabbit, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. And the hare, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, it is unclean to you. And the pig, which most common one we know of, though it has a split hoof completely divided yet does not chew the cud, it is unclean to you. Their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you do not touch. They are unclean to you. And in case anyone was wondering, carcass means a dead animal. I know some people might think, oh, we can't even touch them. Its carcass is a dead animal. These you do eat of all that are in the waters. Any one that has fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, or in the rivers, that you do eat. But all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, all that move in the waters, or any living being which is in the waters, they are an abomination to you. They are an abomination to you. Of their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you abominate. I can't quite pronounce that. It's also early. All that have not fins or scales in the waters are an abomination to you. And these you do... Monica, do you know how to pronounce that? Abominate. Okay, got it. Never mind. You do abominate among the birds. They are not eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle and the vulture and the black vulture and the hawk and the falcon after its kind, every raven after its kind, and the ostrich and the nighthawk and the seagull and the hawk after its kind, and the little owl and the fisher owl and the great owl and the white owl and the pelican and the carrion vulture and the stork, the heron after its kind, and the kapoi and the bat. All flying insects that creep on all fours is an abomination to you. Only these you do eat of every flying insect that creeps on all fours, those which have jointed legs above their feet, with which to leap on the earth. These of them you do eat, the arba locust after its kind, and the solemn locust after its kind, and the hargal locust after its kind, and the hagab locust after its kind. But all other flying insects which have 4 feet are an abomination to you. And by these you are made unclean. Anyone touching the carcass of any of them is unclean until evening. And anyone picking up part of the carcass of any of them has to wash his garments, and shall be unclean until evening. Every beast that has a split hoof not completely divided, or does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean. And whatever goes on its paws among all the creatures that go on all fours, those are unclean to you. A good example of that would be like dogs, cats. Anyone who touches their carcass is unclean until evening. And he who picks up their carcass has to wash his garments, and shall be unclean until evening. They are unclean to you. And these are unclean to you among the creeping creatures that creep on the earth, the mole, and the mouse, and the tortoise after its kind, and the gecko, and the land crocodile, and the sand reptile, and the sand lizard, and the chameleon. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Anyone who touches them when they are dead, which that clarified the carcass, becomes unclean until evening. And whatever any of them in its dead state falls upon becomes unclean, whether it is any wooden object or garment or skin or sack, any object in which work is done, it is put in water, and it shall be unclean until evening, then it shall be clean. Any earthen vessel into which any of them falls, whatever is in it becomes unclean, and you break it. Any of the food which might be eaten, on which water comes, becomes unclean, and any drink which might be drunk from it becomes unclean. And on whatever any of their carcass falls becomes unclean. In the oven or cooking range it is broken down. They are unclean, and are unclean to you. But a fountain or a well, a collection of water, is clean, but whatever touches their carcass is unclean. And when any of their carcass falls on any planting seed which is to be sown, it is clean, but when any water is put on the seed, and any part of any such carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you. And when any of the beasts which are yours for food dies, he who touches it, its carcass becomes unclean until evening, and he who eats of its carcass has to wash his garments, and shall be unclean until evening. And he who picks up its carcass has to wash his garments, and shall be unclean until evening. And every swarming creature, the one that swarms on the earth, is an abomination. It is not eaten. Whatever crawls on its stomach, and whatever goes on all fours, and whatever has many feet among all swarming creatures, the ones swarming on the earth, these you do not eat, for they are an abomination. Do not make yourselves abominable with any swarming creature, the one swarming, and do not make yourselves unclean with them, lest you be defiled by them. For I am Yahweh, your Elohim, and you shall set yourselves apart. And you shall be set apart, for I am set apart. And do not defile yourselves with any swarming creature, the one creeping on the earth. For I am Yahweh, who is bringing you up out of the land of Mitzrayim, to be your Elohim. And you shall be set apart, for I am set apart. This is the Torah of the beasts and the birds and every living being, the creeping creature in the waters, and of every being that swarms on the earth, to make a distinction between the unclean and the clean, and between the living creature that is eaten, and the living creature that is not eaten. That makes your throat go dry. Hang on, I need to take a drink.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. That's a lot to read, but sometimes when we're in the truth, we tend to forget that we need to go back to these basics often and just refresh our memories on everything that Father says is clean and unclean and why. And as like I said, we've been walking this path for a while now, and you're just so wrapped up in the rest of the books, especially the Apocryphas, and you're trying to understand the prophecies, that you completely forget to go back to the basics and just to keep building your knowledge and understanding in that as well. Because as Vainand mentioned last Sabbath, your wisdom comes from the Torah. And if you forsake reading through the basics first and just sharpening your memory on it constantly, you're just going to get swept up in all the other things and forget what it's all about. So it's important for us to read through these often and just remind ourselves exactly what Yahweh expects of us.
100% agree with that. Like I had forgotten that even rabbits were unclean. I thought rabbits were okay to eat, and they're not. It specifically says rabbits are unclean.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, I'm sorry that you guys can't see the whole thing. Like I said, next time I can actually use the studio, and I will have a lot more control over everything to make it clearer for you to look at. But this was like a summary of everything that was unclean. And a good example of why all of those birds are unclean. They are literally the garbage disposals. They eat rotten carcasses and everything. And that brings me to why are we told not to eat certain things? I know people say that we can eat whatever we want and there's no issue. Well, there are a lot of dangers and hidden disease that we are unaware of. Just the same as children do not always understand why a parent makes a rule, but there is always a reason for that rule. Some dangers we are now aware of today when it comes to eating certain things. The things that we are commanded not to eat have potential health risks. They can cause long-term health issues, have parasitical risk, or spread disease. A lot of the forbidden foods are Earth's garbage disposals. Their job is to keep the waste on Earth under control. When you eat them, you're also putting that waste and filth into your body. Yahweh has a job and task for every living creature, but he makes it clear that not every creature is for consumption. This is for our own health and benefit. Under his law and following his Torah, we are commanded to obey these food laws. Lost my train of thought for a second. So yeah, he has very specific reasons for this, even though we might not understand it. We can't see all of the potential risks. That's also why we're told not to touch dead carcasses, because the moment that that animal dies, it starts to rot. It starts to have parasites and all that can end up in it, and you don't realize, you can't necessarily see everything that you're putting onto your body and then transmitting to your mouth. And it's for our protection, and it's hard for some people to see that sometimes. There is also, I wanted to cover, it is important that we are not consuming the blood in the meat. That when we cook our meat, that all of the blood is cooked out. Like, I used to really love medium rare steaks, and I know they claim there's no blood left in it, but Scott and I started having our steaks more well done, just to make sure that all the blood is gone. And that's because the life is in the blood. And I'm going to read some verses in Leviticus about that. And any man of the house of Israel, or of the sojourners who sojourn among you, who eats any blood, I shall set my face against that being who eats blood, and shall cut him off from among his people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the slaughter place to make atonement for your lives. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the life. That is Leviticus 17:10-11. Leviticus 7:26 through 27. And do not eat any blood in any of your dwellings, of bird or of beast. And being who eats any blood, even that being shall be cut off from his people. So it shows you it is an abomination to eat blood. It is a very serious thing. To make sure that you are not consuming the blood. Monty, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty straightforward. I mean, you know, it's just don't eat the blood. I think also if you look at today's life, everything we hear about what's going on in the industry with the celebrities and stuff, and what they do with the blood and so on, it's pretty gruesome. And then you can see why. I mean, why Father brought in these laws for us, because I don't know if they did it back then already, probably. I mean, I know nothing's new under the sun, but it's like you said before, everything is for our own good. And the idea of just having some blood in your meat, most of us would think, oh, it's not that much. But there's a very particular reason Father gives us these laws, and we might not always understand them immediately. As we grow in wisdom, we will start understanding the intention of Yahweh's laws as well, why he gave them to us. So as you start out your walk as a new believer, or even as you grow, we just need to listen to him and do what he tells us. If he says no blood, then no blood. And like I said, later maybe you'll understand the deeper meanings, but for now, he said the life's in the blood. So yeah.
Like I said, it's like when your parent tells you not to do something, like don't run out in the road. And a child might think, well, I don't see why not. It looks safe. And then they disobey, and then they risk getting hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly. He can see more than we can, and we just need to obey.
Annalie, listen to you all have me tripping over steak. I love steak. I'm sorry, Jackie. That was the first one I read was Leviticus 17, 10 through 11. I'll give you a moment to type that. Leviticus 17, 10 through 11. And then the second one was Leviticus 7, 26 through 27. Sorry, I know it bugs you if I don't say them clearly. I'll try to say them more clearly next time. Okay, so the common misconceptions. Of course, we know that people will say that all foods are clean now, the law is done away with. I have some scripture to read here to show the witnesses that it is not done away with. The food law is a part of the Torah, and we know the Torah is not done away with. So, hang on, I'm going to put the scripture up on the screen. I will also say them for you, Jackie. There we go. So, I'm first reading Matthew 23, 1 through 3. Then Yahweh spoke to the crowds and to his taught ones, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on the seat of Moses. Therefore, whatever they say to you to guard, guard and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do. And of course, we know that's referencing being hypocritical, preaching to people, but then not practicing what you preach. Next verses is Isaiah 65, 3 through 4. The people who provoke me continually to my face, who slaughter in gardens and burn incense on slaughter places of brick, who sit among the burial sites and spend the night in secret places, who eat flesh of pigs, and the broth of unclean meat is in their pots. Next is Isaiah 66, 16 through 17. For by fire and by his sword Yahweh shall judge all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many, those who set themselves apart and cleanse themselves at the gardens after one in the midst, eating flesh of pigs, and the abomination and the mouse are snatched away together, declares Yahweh. Oh, I missed the next one is Matthew 5, verse 18. That's an important one. For truly I say to you, till the heaven and earth pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. Okay, and I had wrote out something just going over that. A lot of people say the food laws are done away with. What they don't seem to realize is one of the biggest reasons there are so many health issues and sickness in the world today is because of disobedience to the Torah. Everything they put into our foods that our bodies are not meant to consume. People sometimes get very angry and defensive when you try to explain why we should still be eating clean. They like the convenience, and our bodies get addicted to the unclean foods. Example of that is when someone says, but I just love my bacon. I can't give up my bacon. We have sadly become lazy and disobedient to the Torah, and our bodies are paying the price, not to mention our souls. This pattern always repeats itself. I remember my parents teaching me to be very careful because with each generation, we slip more and more into sin. Good becomes bad and bad good, which was prophesied to happen. There is a reason why fasting and removing a lot of today's foods from your diet can help your body to heal and recover from sickness. Our bodies and souls are being poisoned. You have to remove that poison if you want your body and soul to start healing. And Monty's husband is a good example of that. His fasting, he explained that really, really well. His fasting helps his body to heal. It allows it to heal, which Monty can go more in depth with that.
With all these diets, the first thing after he had his strokes, the doctor said, oh, you need to go on the Mediterranean diet, which is basically more vegetables and whole grains and stuff like that. We tried it. Bainan's not really one for. He loves vegetables, but it's not like he can live off it. He's really not. And then it was a couple of months ago, he read about the carnivore diet and he started following that. And that's where we learned just exactly how poisonous some of the foods are. I get why certain people choose to be vegetarian, but with his condition and what he's been following, we've seen a remarkable change in his healing and recovering, and just his mobility has increased so much. His brain is stronger. He can concentrate for longer on certain subjects and what have you. So it's important to listen to your body. I know it sounds weird when I say that, but your body will tell you when something's off. And I know Vaynant was talking about, they have these boot camps a couple of times a week where all these guys that do the carnivore diet actually talk about it. And they have so many testimonies from guys that have healed from Alzheimer's and cancer and what have you. And the one lady said that she went strictly just beef and fats for a couple of weeks. And the moment she ate bacon again, when she started easing off the strictness of the carnivore, she got sick. And most of them agreed that the moment you start eating bacon again, all those bad inflammation and nausea and everything came back times 10. And they realized by just cleaning up their diet how they heal. And then the minute they take a bite of bacon, it just puts them right back into that illness again. And so that's just living testimonies of how pork makes you sick, like physically sick.
Absolutely. I apologize, this picture is not in proportion, but I wanted to read 1 John chapter 2 verses 3 through 7. And by this we know that we know him, if we guard his commands. The one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever guards his word, truly the love of Elohim has been perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. The one who says he stays in him ought himself also to walk, even as he walked. Beloved, I write no fresh command to you, but an old command, which you have had from the beginning. The old command is the word, which you heard from the beginning. Monty, did you say you had some verses you would like to read? That's pretty much all I have.
Yes. I just wanted to have a look here at okay, yeah, you were talking about did you do Peter's vision? Sorry, I had a call, so I kind of had to step out there for a second.
You're fine. No, I haven't
Okay.
gone over that misconception, when people misread that and misunderstand it.
Yeah. Okay, so here we see that when Yahweh has commanded something is unclean, it stays unclean. You cannot make it clean with a prayer. I mean, that's what a lot of people think today, is that, oh, I pray over my food, so it's clean now. That's not so. If Father decided something is unclean, it stays unclean, no matter what you pray over it. Just the same way, when he has declared something clean, it cannot be made unclean by other people's prayers. Last week we had a discussion about halal foods and kosher foods or what have you. or shall I rather say halal friendly foods. And I know it's some people feel you shouldn't eat it because it's done in a ritualistic way. Um, and that's fine. If you don't feel comfortable eating that, that's one thing. And if you're not bothered by it, that's also fine. I mean, if we go and see just exactly what makes food clean according to Torah, Torah defines clean and unclean foods by creation order, not by human words or prayers. Nothing in Torah suggests that the speech of another human can override Yahweh's created categories. The Torah and prophets repeatedly state that idols are not real gods and possess no power to act. Idols are the work of human hands. And Psalm 115, verse 4 and 5, it says, "Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not." In Joshua 7, we see, this was Annalie's scripture she was going to read last week, but we ran over time. She didn't get to read it. It's about Abram and how he basically meets his father's gods that he made. And he tells us the whole story of how he cooks a meal for these gods and he puts it down and they don't eat it. And he thinks, well, maybe it's not good enough. So he made a bigger meal and he left it and they didn't eat it. And then he realized, but they don't have an ability of their own. So then he smashed these gods and put the hammer close to the biggest one. And when his father saw it, his father was angry with him. He said, "Why did you break my gods?" And he said, "But I didn't." The biggest one smashed the others because they were going for his food. And the father was irate with him and angry. And he said, "Don't lie to me. They can't do anything themselves." So here, basically, Abram's just pointing out to his father that it's ridiculous. You made these gods, yet you bow to them and you declare them your saviors, proving their worth is based on man's vain imaginations. In the Wisdom of Solomon 13, verse 1 to 2, idols are mistaken sorry, I was skipping ahead here. "For the worship of idols, not to be named, is the beginning and cause and end of every evil." Wisdom of Solomon 14, verse 27. Idols are mistaken interpretations of creation, not divine beings. So eating clean food despite another person's idolatrous prayers. There's a lot of scriptures where we can go into and have a look at these. Sorry, Jackie, the verse there was Wisdom of Solomon 14, verse 27, the last one. Yeah, 27. But when we go and we read in 1 Corinthians, Paul basically just puts it so nicely for us. He says, now that's 1 Corinthians 8, verse 1. My goodness, that's a long one. To 13. He says, "Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but charity edifies. And if any man think that he knows anything, he knows nothing yet, as he ought to know. But if any man loves Yahweh, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other than Yahweh but one. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom all things are, and we in him, and one Yeshua Mashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it, as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled. But meat commendeth us not to God. For neither if we eat are we better, neither if we do not eat, we are the worse. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours becomes a stumbling block to them that are weak. So basically he's saying here, there are those that eat the offered or the meats and it doesn't bother them. But you need to take heed that if it gives something or someone it becomes a stumbling block to them, then don't eat it. And we're going to see, he gives an example later on But reading further in verse 10, it says, "For if many see thee, which has knowledge, sit at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And through thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish, for whom Yeshua died. But when you sin so against the brother and wound their weak conscience, you sin against Messiah. Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world stands, lest I make my brother to offend." So, yeah, you can see he's telling us that if you eating the flesh of a meat, like we're using the example of halal because that's what we have today in our day and age. If it offends the brother, then don't eat it. I mean, if you come and visit my house, I'm not going to go and buy meat from the halal place. Not that we do, it's halal friendly. There's a difference. Because if you have a look at our normal butchers, there they butcher they prepare the meat of the beef and the chicken, and they have their pork and what's that thing that we were talking about? The ostrich meat. That's a thing now. People eat that. It's apparently very healthy for them because it's seen as lean meat. So all those meats are all prepared there together in one kitchen. Whereas when you go to an abattoir that's halal or kosher friendly, not necessarily prepared in the halal way, it's just friendly, it means there's no pork or ostrich or even chicken. There isn't even any chicken available there. So you need to have a mindful heart also of what people's circumstances are and how their availability is to fresh meat. I mean, there are those that can live off herbs and vegetables and they're fine. And then there are those who really can't. And then we need to make a plan, you know. Then if you read further in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 24 to 33, he gives us an example. "All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Whatsoever is sold in the shambles or meat markets, that eat, asking no question for conscience sake. For the earth is Yahweh's and the fullness thereof. If any of them that believe not bid you question for conscience sake," oh, sorry, I skipped a verse. "But if any of them that believe not bid you to a feast, and you be disposed to go, whatsoever is set before you eat, asking no questions for conscience sake." Because basically he's saying, you remember that gods don't exist. So if you go sit there and you eat, you don't know what they did before you got there. But you eat what they put in front of you and you eat it. Obviously, according to Torah, I mean, you're not going to eat a piece of ostrich or a piece of pork. I mean, you stay within Torah still, but you're not going to ask him, how is this prepared? Who prayed over this? That's not what you're going to do. "But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it, and for conscience sake. For the earth is Yahweh's and fullness." Oh goodness, what am I doing? I'm skipping verses and reading back. "Okay, I say to you, not thy own, but of the other. For why is my liberty judged of another man's conscience? For if I by grace be a partaker, why am I evil spoken of for that which I give thanks? Whether therefore you eat or drink, or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of Yahweh. Give none offense, neither to the Jews or the Gentiles, nor to the church of Yahweh, even as I pleased all men in all things, not seeking my own profit, but the profit of many, that they may be saved." So, I know a lot of people use these verses as well, where they say, but if I'm saying thanks, why do you judge me? You need to remember that Paul was still within Torah. He was still following the dietary laws himself. So when he's talking about eat the meat that you buy at the meat market, he's talking about Torah obedient meats. He's not talking about the unclean things. And that's the problem, is everybody thinking when you read the New Testament, oh, you can eat anything now because Paul says. No, you need to remember he was still Torah obedient. He was talking about clean meats. "Food itself remains clean. Participation in idol worship is forbidden." Solomon gives us a good example of participating in sacrifices. Are you guys okay with this topic, or do you feel it's too much off topic? Are you interested in hearing? I just want to check before I carry on. Just make sure that you guys are interested in the topic of idols and meat offered to idols.
I think it's awesome. It's a good addition to it. There was a couple of questions. One of the questions was, do we need to boil our meat first? And I honestly wasn't sure how to answer that. Melissa actually asked that.
I don't know. No, you do not have to boil it first. Not at all. I know some people prefer doing it, but it's not necessary. I mean, we just throw it on the grill and we fry it or grill it, as you guys call it. We don't boil it first.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to make sure all the blood is out.
Yeah.
Also, someone asked if birds with crops are clean. As far as I know, birds that have crops are clean.
Yeah, that's what I understand of it as well.
Also, if kangaroo, I don't know why we'd want to eat kangaroo, but someone asked.
I don't think that falls under clean meats.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Okay. Let's carry on about the whole sacrifices and when it counts as a sacrifice and when it doesn't count as a sacrifice. Mushrooms, as far as I know, are fine because it's more a spore. So that's fine. And chicken, of course, yes. Okay, so in 1 Kings 11, verse 4 to 8, we see Solomon falling from grace. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Solomon did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and went not fully after Yahweh, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he call for his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrifice unto their gods. So now when you go and you read in the Testament of Solomon, he explains how he crushed a cricket as a ritual obedience. He confesses this, saying he was under demonic deception. In the Testament of Solomon, chapter 6, he says, I was deceived, and I crushed locusts and crickets in sacrifice for demons. So the sinful act was in doing it as a ritual. But when I kill a cricket in my home because it's making a noise, and then I am in no way participating in a ritual of any kind. The same physical action without ritual intent is not worship. So here he was physically standing before the altar when he crushed the cricket. That was literally being part of the ritual and the offering. This sinful act, okay, there are some overlapping in this. That's basically all that I wanted to just talk to you guys about. What constitutes as a ritual or a sinful offering, and the difference when you're not there and somebody prays over the meat. We've established in the word that there's just one God, and that's Yahweh. And if they pray to their gods and you don't know about it, then you can go ahead and eat the meat. But if it offends a brother or sister because they saw someone praying over that meat, then rather abstain from eating that meat so you don't offend your brother or become a stumbling block.
Annalie, that's one thing that I've been a little unsure about. Like, reason I've eaten medium rare steaks for years is they say all the blood is drained out, that anything left, like you said, is the meat juices. So I honestly cannot tell someone it is a sin to eat medium rare meat or rare meat. It's more of, I guess, you need to, it's basically what's on your conscience about it. Are you worried there might be traces of blood left? But I think that would be more something to pray about, because I know they do drain the blood. Like when you get a deer, we would let it hang for several days and then there is no trace of blood left in it. But that was a very good point to bring up.
Yeah, Jessica, you're asking here, should we avoid anything that says halal or kosher then? Well, that's just the discussion. Personally, I don't have a problem with it because, like I said, their gods don't exist, only mine does. So, I'm not going to go walk into a Muslim shop and buy their meats if I can avoid it. But let's just make an example. If you buy like the candies or the snacks here, it has a halal sticker on it. It doesn't mean it went through the same process as how they prepare their meats for consumption. Because how do you do that with a pack of candy? You can't. It's basically just saying that sticker on it is saying it's halal friendly, which means there's no pork products in it. So when you're eating those candies, it's because they used bovine gelatin instead of pork gelatin. So it's halal friendly. It's become more like a kind of a money making thing now. It's everywhere. I mean, even all the candies and snacks in our shops almost have halal stickers on it. But it's just because we have a big Muslim community in our country. So they see, oh, it's halal safe, I can eat it. But it doesn't mean that that was carried up to their gods at all, because it doesn't go through the same process. Probably the bovine meat eventually comes from that cow, and it comes down to what you feel in your heart. Are you offended by it? Do you feel like, is your conscience pricked by it? If you feel it is going to be a stumbling block, avoid it. That's what Paul is basically saying to us in 1 Corinthians, that it's basically for you to decide. If it offends you, leave it. If you're okay with it, eat it, because there's only one God and he has declared the meats clean. Not all meats. We've just read the meats that he's declared clean.
It's not that you made the meat clean, you unclean. You can't make the meat unclean. But then you're offering up a sacrifice. It's the
Exactly.
idolism
Then
you're worshiping.
you're being part of that idol worship or that ritual sacrifice. Then it's a sin.
Way to look at it is, whoever prayed over that meat to make it halal friendly, they are worshiping a false god. They are in the wrong, but you did not pray over that and worship a false god.
I would also say, if you pray and thank Yahweh for that meat, your prayer basically trumps theirs. So, because your prayer is to the only living God. So, did I make sense in what I was trying to explain to you guys? I mean, is anything unclear with it? Thank you. Sausage casings. Yeah, that's why I would say be careful, because a lot of sausage casings, Melissa, they have pork. They use a pork intestine for that. In our shops, you have to really be careful and read the label. Sometimes it's synthetic. Otherwise, it's the sheep's casings that they use. But if they don't say anything, it's more likely pork casings that they use for the sausages.
Monty, do you think I should go over those two arguments people have really quick?
Yes,
I know,
definitely.
just because I know people wonder about it and it can be confusing. They go right to those two stories and then claim that the food laws are done away with. So,
Yeah, no, definitely go over that.
okay, so in case you are wondering, or if someone tries to come at you with these arguments, this might help you be able to address it and answer them. There's two areas in scripture that are misunderstood and used, basically twisted to support their argument. And the first was Matthew 15, 1 through 20. No, I'm not going to read all those, but basically they're getting angry at the disciples for not washing their hands before they ate. And then the Messiah rebukes them. And people think that when he goes to rebuke them, that when he says that nothing that goes in the mouth can defile you, but what comes out, what spews out of your mouth, that defiles you. And then they automatically think, oh, food law is done away with, which we know the Son cannot do away with the Father's law. But if you read verse 20, it says, these defile the man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile the man. So he clarifies with his own words. He's referring to, if you have dirt on your hands and eat, that cannot defile you. And then Matthew 23, 4 through 5, for they bind heavy burdens hard to bear and lay them on men's shoulders, but with their finger they do not wish to move them. And they do all their work to be seen by men, and they make their, it's either tefillin or tefillin, wide and lengthen the zitzit of their garments. Which Adrian addressed that, how you shouldn't be prideful. Hi, sweetheart. Tyler just woke up. You shouldn't be prideful and try to show off your zitzits. Hi, baby. So I just wanted to clarify that one. He is referring to eating with dirty hands. That cannot defile you, but he was not doing away with his Father's, the law that he has given. The second one that they will go to is Yahweh told Peter in his vision to eat unclean animals. And there again, you have to remember how things are used in parables, just like trees can reference angels and man. So Acts 10:28, and he said to them, you know that a Yehudi man is not allowed to associate with or go to one of another race, but Elohim has shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So when you look at it from that perspective, in the vision where he's told, eat anything that's before you. And he says, but I've never eaten anything unclean. I cannot do this. And he commands him again, eat. He wasn't actually telling him to break the food law. He was using a parable, and that's why he states in Acts 10:28 that it's been made clear to him that I should not call any man common or unclean. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I know that can be confusing for some people, and it's just simply things being taken out of context and misunderstood, or just being twisted.
Yeah, because a lot of people only read until they find their answer that they wanted, then they stop reading. But if you just carry on with the chapter, he basically declares his own vision to the people and explains to them what the vision was about.
That's me. It says it very clearly, like Yeshua clarifies it, and then by saying unwashed hands, and then Peter clarifies it by saying, he has shown me I should not call any man common or unclean. And he just uses the example of clean and unclean animals as a parable. We have to remember that Yahweh will not go against his Torah. He will not go against his promise and his commands.
Yes, absolutely.
Did anyone have anything to add? We're actually right at the hour mark.
Yeah. Any questions or uncertainties?
Jessica, I haven't done a lot of research into this, but the reason why we've stopped eating seaweed is because it says anything in the ocean and waters that does not have scales and fins is unclean. And seaweed is actually, it's not a plant, it's a living creature, if I remember correctly. It's alive. And we stopped eating it because of that. We could be wrong in our interpretation of that, but just for our own conscience, we don't eat it because it says anything that does not have fins or scales that lives in the ocean is unclean. I know, I
Yeah,
remember that hour passed.
I didn't think seaweed was unclean either. But when
I'm
when you say
unsure
it
of
like
that.
that, it's about, again, it comes down to what does your conscience explain to you, because the Yahweh isn't clear, like, don't eat seaweed or do eat seaweed. It's unclear. So
Exactly.
it's about the conscience again.
Okay. Are we ready to wrap up this first live?
I think so. If there aren't any other questions or anything you'd like to add.
That is true, Kaylee. Seaweed is like a cleaner of the ocean, so kind of like the garbage disposal. Like Monty said, it's some of them are just unclear, and I just stopped eating it because I wasn't sure and I just wanted to be safe. But I'm not going to condemn someone if they say I eat seaweed. Be like, you're wrong. Of course, if
Yeah.
they say I eat pork, I'm going to say you're not supposed to do that
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
specifically says pork.
If you're going against Torah, we will lovingly correct you. But
Yeah.
when it's with the unclear things, then, we leave that up to interpretation or guidance from Yahweh.
Yeah, because then you risk adding to or taking away, and that's where there's a fine line.
Yeah.
I always try to be careful with that. Okay, so I was just going to close with Lucas's Song of Moses, and Monty, I'm just going to put my earpieces down next to the speakers, and you can end it